Wow, that's unusual. Members of Congress most recently have been selling Oracle.
Some unique insights after tracking congressional trades over the past month.
Some of the trades reaching into the $100,000 range.
MarketBeat's Thomas Hughes is breaking it all down and sharing some of the biggest insights retail investors can gain from following these recent moves by Congress.
Congress members are buying Palantir, and they're not buying BigBear.
Where else lawmakers are choosing to invest their money right now? Let's dive in. Thomas, so great to have you back on the show, checking in on some of the moves that Congress is making, especially during this season of some really major moves in big tech. The big question is, do members of Congress seem to be signaling there could be more big moves ahead for big tech?
It looks like it based on the activity over the past month and over the summer. We certainly have Congress and Congress members betting pretty big on big tech.
Yeah, let's go through some of the biggest trades in August, some of the biggest names that are showing up as the most common trades for members of Congress. Before we get to the specific names, the two big names we want to talk about are Oracle and Broadcom. Those were some of the biggest swings we saw over the last month. Have we seen any of those trades disclosed yet, if any members of Congress got in?
So members of Congress have been buying Broadcom. It has turned up as one of our AI winners. We've got several Congress members buying Broadcom and over the past month. As far as Oracle goes, there hasn't really been a whole lot of action. The most recent activity that we've picked up was a few months ago, and that was some selling. Really surprising given Oracle's position in the market. But if you look at Oracle's most recent report and the stock price action, even though the results have been foreshadowing these kind of numbers and these kind of results, the market really wasn't believing it. I mean, we've talked about it a bunch of times, how the forward-looking indicators have really been accelerating and pointing to a big boom, and they're still doing that. So I would not be surprised to see Congress start buying that name as well.
Well, let's talk about some of the other big tech names, too. These are names that a lot of people are familiar with, but it does say something as far as confidence in what's happening with AI to see so many members of Congress buying in on some of these names.
Well, right. So the number one most bought stock by Congress over the last month and for the preceding 180 days is Nvidia. And that's not surprising. Nvidia has cemented itself very thoroughly as the leader in AI. AI is the driving force for technology today. It all begins and ends with Nvidia's ability to create the infrastructure and provide the software to operate it. But we're tracking purchases on both sides of the aisle, both houses of Congress, including independent members, some buying in the most recent month. And within that, we have a single member of Congress, Cleo Fields, representative from Louisiana, has bought Nvidia many times over the past couple of weeks or couple of months, I should say. Some of the trades reaching into the $100,000 range. So he's really put some money down on this one, as well as some other big tech names.
Yeah, to see such a big purchase coming on Nvidia at this stage in the game for Nvidia, this is a stock that we've seen grow a ton over the last 5 years. To see more buy-in for this company at this kind of higher rate is also interesting.
Well, right. The valuation metrics and the outlook for earnings growth are kind of ridiculous for Nvidia. Even at the high levels it's trading at now, we're still looking at the stock possibly growing 100 to 200% over the next 10 years. The demand outlook is kind of crazy. Wedbush has estimated that demand outstrips supply by 10 to 1, which just means all they have to do is just keep making chips for as fast as they can to make as much money as possible. It's really not surprising to see members of Congress still buying this stock, especially when it pulls back and presents those buying opportunities.
Well, we've got the biggest tech giant out there. What are a few of the other tech names that members of Congress have been buying the last month or so?
Well, unsurprisingly, that list extends to many of the Mac 7 names. We've got Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta, even Taiwan Semiconductors, which is very central to the onshoring of U.S. semiconductor manufacturing. Plays into that whole Nvidia trade. Most of the Mac 7 names, but also many other critical AI names. We've mentioned Broadcom already, but Advanced Micro Devices was also a notable trade by Congress over the last few weeks, with numerous members buying shares of that stock.
Yeah, all big names there. And I think it all points to just a bullish outlook from Congress on the future of AI. And so I think that's a good nugget for investors to pay attention to is when you have this many members of Congress investing in these big names, these big leaders. It's just a bullish case for the future.
Right. And totally. And it affirms the outlook that the big, well established tech players, the ones that are best positioned to deliver, they've been delivering already and they will continue to deliver. We do have some purchases of smaller speculative names, but really not very many. Almost all the cash flow is going into these big blue chip tech names.
Yeah, the larger purchases too. That's something to pay attention to.
Especially the big purchases.
Yeah, those larger purchases are really affirming that big tech is where members of Congress are putting their money right now, and why so many of these big tech names are showing up on the top 10 best stocks to own this fall. Make sure to check out our very latest free premium report right now on the 10 best stocks to own this fall. You can scan the QR code now or click the link in the description to get that full list for free right now on MarketBeat.com and check out which names make this list and which other sectors are also on the top 10 best stocks of the fall. Well, let's move on from some of those big tech names to some other insights for investors coming from members of Congress purchases and the things they've disclosed over the last 30 days.
All right. So the one that stands out as far as like the smaller caps go would be Palantir. We've got 7 trades by 3 members in the last 30 days. We've got 13 by 6 in the last 180 trades in the last, 4 to 6 weeks are just over $400,000. Not really a huge amount, but still a pretty good stake for people that you assume aren't super rich, but really an affirmation of this company that's been building momentum with its government business as well as its commercial business. All of its results have been very good, certainly leading the market sentiment, driving the analysts to lift their price targets to keep this market moving. So yeah, very interesting name.
Yeah, members of Congress buying Palantir makes sense because Palantir has so much of its business with government contracts. I think the question I have about Palantir is the stock's been trading sideways or down from its highs earlier this summer. Were some of these purchases coming during that high momentum phase for Palantir, or are some of these members of Congress getting in on this little bit of a pullback for Palantir?
Well, so they was buying throughout the year, especially over the summer, helping to drive the stock price higher. And we have seen some purchases since the market has pulled back. Congress is buying on the dip, it looks like, and helping to provide support for this uptrend.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what you think that this purchase of Palantir from members of Congress might have to say about the defense sector. We've talked so much on this channel over the last few months about all the new and larger investments coming from the U.S. into the defense sector. Palantir seems to be getting a lot of those contracts. Does this mean that some other smaller defense contractors might not be getting as much business?
Well, it does affirm Palantir as an important key defense sector stock. The government is certainly leaning into digitization, AI, and efficiency. Palantir checks all those boxes. As far as competitors go, the one that stands out that I wrote about in the article is BigBear AI. They're not exactly comparable, but they operate in the same markets. We've been expecting BigBear AI to produce some similar results to Palantir, and it just hasn't been. And it's kind of been stumping us, and we've been talking about that on the channel in different videos. But concerning Congress members are buying Palantir, and they're not buying BigBear. They own Palantir and they don't own BigBear. So that really is just another, brick in the argument, the brick on the wall that says, BigBear AI looks like it should be a good stock, but right now it isn't. Congress kind of agrees with that. Their money's going to Palantir, which is where all the other money is going to. So if you were going to be investing in one of those stocks, Palantir is the standout choice.
Very interesting to look at. Let's do a quick, before we move on to the next point of some of the congressional buys, let's just pull up both of these charts for Palantir and BigBear and talking about whether now is a good time of entry. It's been a few weeks since we've talked about Palantir on the channel and just would love to cover some of the recent moves this stock has seen.
Palantir stock has been trending pretty strongly for the last 2 years. It pulled back earlier this year, hit a critical support level here near $70, has been rocketing higher, set new highs early in the spring, rocketed higher again, hit highs just recently, and has since been pulling back. But right now, this uptrend is still intact. We've got some pretty good support here in the 150 region. We might see the market pull back to this level again and retest. But right now, I would be targeting the 150, 155 range as an entry point for the stock. Looking at BigBear AI, we see a lot of a much different situation. This market has been trying to rally, but hasn't been able to get past this critical resistance point here near $8. Right now, we're pulling back. The last results were pretty weak. There is some analyst support, but it's pretty tepid. Right now, we're looking at this market testing a critical support level where it may be halted, it may rebound from here, but there's a risk that it's going to move lower. If this stock does move below this level, it would likely move even lower down to the $2 region or lower, and would certainly be a stock that I would not want to have in my portfolio because I would expect it to continue moving lower or sideways, wallowing at these low levels until there was some kind of good news, which right now there's not really much expectation for that.
That's a pretty clear picture of Palantir could be a buy at this rate. Big Bear, for you, it doesn't look like it's a buy at any rate.
Right now, I'm not really looking to buy BigBear AI.
All right, good advice and good insights for some investors out there. I want to get a few more insights to pull out of the congressional trading data over the last month or so.
All right.
What are some other industries or other names that lawmakers are really interested in buying right now?
A name that I saw that I'm interested in is Uber. Uber hasn't really been a super exciting stock, but it appears to be gaining traction, especially with autonomous vehicle and the future of driving technology. It's been producing some pretty decent results, and it's one that I would want to keep on my watch list. Chart's looking good, in an uptrend, about to set new highs. So it looks like we have some momentum here. Certainly a name to pay attention to.
All right, so Uber is one. What's one other name that members of Congress are buying right now that retail investors might be interested in?
Right. I've seen some members of Congress making opportunistic buys of United Healthcare. United Healthcare stock plunged like 50% earlier this year on a perfect storm of like three bad news stories, most of which was an overreaction. The market has hit a pretty hard bottom near 240 and has been rebounding pretty strongly. Over the last 4 or 5 weeks, we've seen several purchases from members of Congress that suggest they think it's a good buy. I certainly agree with it. The outlook for its growth and its dividend is still pretty robust. There are some headwinds, but I would expect to see this stock price recover and continue its uptrend here before too long.
I'm curious to see if there's any sales of United Healthcare happening on this little rally, and then what other stocks members of Congress might be selling right now, too.
They've been buying a lot of big tech names, and the stocks that they've been selling the most are also many of the same big tech names. But the real takeaway is that the names they're selling have all seen pretty substantial rallies. The sales really amount to profit taking, which isn't too surprising given the amount of gains we've seen. And the sales are far less than the purchases. So on balance, Congress is still very bullish on all these names, and ultimately them selling, but at a lesser pace, just affirms the bullish outlook for these markets over time.
Yeah, a lot of this behavior we're seeing in the buys and sells from Congress just seem like a general following the market right now, what we're seeing as market trends too. Why is it still important to just take a look and keep an eye out on what members of Congress are doing?
They do have a certain amount of inside knowledge, and if we start seeing them do some really funny things, or all of a sudden start moving into a certain group, or moving significantly against the market in general, we would take that as either a good or a bad sign, depending on what it is. But like with any signals that we have, we're not going to use congressional trading as our only signal. It's just one of the many pieces of a puzzle that we put together, trying to decide if we want to buy a stock or not.
Well, very good. Thomas, thank you so much for keeping us all up to date on what members of Congress are doing and getting some insights and general trends that are good insights for retail investors and what they're doing in the market too. Thanks for your time today, Thomas, and thank you for watching, everyone. Let us know what you think in the comments. Are there any other tidbits from the congressional trading data on our website that you find interesting that would be good for retail investors to know? Share your own insights in the comments. We'd love to hear them. Thanks for watching, everyone, and as always, happy investing.